June 17th of this year will commemorate the 200th anniversary of an event that happened at what is now Bunker Hill National Monument. It was an event to commemorate the 50-year, or to do the groundbreaking for the Bunker Hill Monument to commemorate the 50th year anniversary of the Revolutionary War. In the audience was Marquis de Lafayette, the Frenchman who helped us out to win the Revolutionary War. There were 1,000 people in attendance that day, and there were 190 Revolutionary War veterans that attended the event. The guest speaker was one of the greatest orators in the history of our country, a guy named Daniel Webster. And towards the end of his speech, he made a charge to the country. And it was such an important statement that he made that it's now engraved in marble, and it hangs on the back of the chamber of the House of Representatives right up above the speaker's seat. And Webster said, "Let us develop the resources of our land, call forth its powers, build up its institutions, promote all its great ideas, and see whether or not we too in our day and generation might do something worthy to be remembered." I think that's a challenge that's not only to members of Congress as we stand in that chamber, but it's also a challenge to America. And it's something that we need to focus more on. And I want to look at just the first phrase of that quote. Let us develop the resources of our land. You know, a lot of people know me as the forester in Congress, but I can tell you before I was a forester, I was an engineer, and I'm still an engineer today, and I'm still a forester today. I often tell folks that those are the worst two educational backgrounds to have to serve in Congress, because engineers think with logic and reason, and foresters look at long-term horizons, and these are things that are not always appreciated in this fine city. But the most valuable thing I learned in engineering school was how to solve problems. And there was this simple, systematic solution that they told us on how to solve problems. You define the plan, or define the problem, come up with a plan, you do the work or do the arithmetic, and you present the answer. So problem, plan, arithmetic, and answer. That works in a whole lot of things, whether you're doing engineering work or whether you're solving problems in Congress. So we have a problem before us today. And as I look at that challenge from Daniel Webster, that problem is in developing the resources of our land. And that problem is one that you all know so too well. And it's not just the resources of our land, it's developing our land. It's developing energy, it's developing mines, it's building infrastructure, it's managing our forest. It's all those things that have been bogged down by the permitting process. And we have to solve these problems. We face immense challenges going forward. With the introduction of these data processing centers and AI, the demand for electricity is increasing at rates that we've never seen. Just to put this in perspective, Meta has announced a plant in Louisiana, North Louisiana, not too far from my district, that it would take 3 nuclear power plants to run 1 data center. That's mind-boggling to an engineering mind to think that 1 data center could use that much energy. We face energy challenges for manufacturing, for transportation, all of the above ways that we use energy. We see the demands are increasing. So we know that that's a problem. We know that as we try to make cleaner energy and as we try to develop new technology, that we have the problem of getting enough minerals and critical elements to succeed in that. We know that we are far behind the rest of the world in developing those resources that are critical to our national security, that are critical to technology development, even though we've been blessed by God to have those deposits of resources all across our country. We know that we can't build infrastructure in our country anymore like we used to build infrastructure. We know that we need to update and upgrade and fix a lot of infrastructure. But when you look at all these problems, when you look at forest fires burning up our precious resources, mainly in the West, the one thing that keeps coming up is that we can't get things permitted anymore. And we have a lot of well-meaning laws that were put in place to take care of our environment. We have the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Endangered Species Act, the Historical Preservation Act, the Marine Mammal Protection Act. And we have this process to implement those statutes called NEPA. And more people that come by my office these days want to see NEPA fixed than anything else that they talk about. So that's the problem. But the question is, what's the plan? How do we fix it? And I think we've got a plan on how to fix it, and it's gonna have to be fixed the old-fashioned way. It's gonna take a lot of work, and it's gonna take a bipartisan effort. We cannot fix NEPA permitting. We cannot fix these statutes and reconciliation because they don't fit in the framework of reconciliation. It's gonna take 60 votes in the Senate to fix permitting, which means we need to come up with a bill in the House that's bipartisan that we can get over to the Senate and make the argument. And I can tell you this, it's bipartisan, the argument that we need to fix permitting in our country right now. Not just the statutes, but also the process, which is NEPA. We've got a bit of a blueprint on how to do this. My friend Scott Peters from California and I worked on a bill called the Fix Our Forest Act that addresses some of these problems specifically to forest in light of the massive forest fires that we've been having. I can tell you, when I first came to Congress, we worked on legislation like this, and we could barely pass it on a partisan basis. But over time, we've developed a bipartisan consensus on it. The Fix Our Forest Act had 19 Democrat sponsors, got 64 Democrat votes in the House. Every Republican in the House voted for it, and created a strong case as it went to the Senate to get bipartisan action over there. That's the blueprint we have to follow to fix the overall permitting process. I'm working with the other committees in the House and in the Senate. If you look at the House, it's the Natural Resources Committee, which has NEPA and ESA and Marine Mammal Protection and some other statutes. And it's also Energy and Commerce, which has a lot of the statutes with the clean air, clean water, with FERC. We've also got some clean water issues in the T&I committee and with the Corps of Engineers. And then in the Senate, you've got the EPW and the Senate ENR. And what we're trying to do is work through those committees to come up with a bipartisan, bicameral solution that can get the support in the House and move over to the Senate and not just get lip service, but actually get passed and signed into law. So that's the plan. Work on a comprehensive bipartisan permitting reform bill that has bicameral and bipartisan support. Now, I believe that bill has to be blind to technology, because permitting delays are not only hurting energy, they're not only hurting mining, they're hurting transmission, they're hurting infrastructure projects, as I mentioned before, and the delays are unreasonable when it takes an average of 4.7 years to get a permit done through the NEPA process. And if you're in mining, you know that that can stretch out to decades. So that's the plan. The hard part is the arithmetic, or doing the work. And that's where we need your help. We need a lot of input from industry, from environmental groups, from everybody who's impacted by permitting, from the defense space. We need a lot of input from there. And we've got to do this as a team for the betterment of our country. To me, it's the most critical issue that we're working on in this Congress, certainly with the responsibility that I have as the chairman of the Natural Resources Committee. It's my #1 priority to at least get the conversation started, get the ball moving in the right direction. And I'm going to be the eternal optimist and say we're going to get permitting reform done in this Congress. But it's going to take your help. It's going to take not only bipartisan work in the House and the Senate, it's going to take bipartisan work in the public space. And I think everybody needs to take a deep breath and look at what's at stake if we don't get permitting reform done. Look at where are we going to be in the race for AI if we don't build enough energy to meet those demands for AI? Where are we going to be in the cost of energy, which translates in the cost to do business in our economy, without more energy, without more minerals? Where are we going to be from a standpoint of national defense and security if we can't secure these things? Where is our environment going to be if we can't manage forests and watersheds in our country? Where is transportation going to be if we let our infrastructure crumble? There's a tremendous amount at stake, and we've all got to work together to get across the finish line. And then we can all present the answer, and we can watch the president sign it, and we can celebrate, and then get to work doing all the things that we need to do. So I ask you, are you up to the challenge to see if we might do something in our day and generation that's worthy to be remembered? God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity to visit today.